Alright guys, it's Dokkan time again, and today we are revisiting and rebuild, well not really rebuilding, but it's a build video for the LR Tech Zamasu, who was a worldwide download celebration unit last year. Zamasu hasn't changed as far as his build goes, other than the previous video from last year though. I will be giving more detailed oriented shows of how, or like, you know, how much crit, how much additional or dodge or whatever may have you, to put into the unit specifically. Zamasu is still, honestly, he's still very good. I think that he is still a good, fun unit to be rocking. And I do think that because it might seem weird, but because we got the LR physical trio, you can technically run this unit on the team and get that nice defense boost. Nice. So anyways, I'm going to show you my build for Zamasu personally. I haven't changed his build basically since I've gotten him, and I don't plan to either. My personal choice is to give him a 24 additional and then put the rest into crit, and I gave him a little bit of amount of evasion. I don't think he needs the evasion particularly. I think you could go without the evasion. I honestly have considered thinking about removing this and just plopping on more crit. There has been numerous times where I wish he had not dodged, and I wish I had gotten the crit off instead. But I feel like the 6, like, I already have a terrible chance to dodge as it is. So the 6 doesn't bother me too much, in all honesty. So it's never really saves Zamasu, though, because he has such an absurdly good amount of defense, in my personal opinion. And the interesting thing here is that he is on Power of Wishes. And being a Power of Wishes unit, you can be under the leader skill of the LR physical trio. Now, I think the physical trio is in such a good amount of standing of a defensive unit. Don't get me wrong, this unit can die. They can die. It is possible. But the majority of the time, it's almost, as long as you're focusing on giving them orbs, they're not going to die. They are a solid slot 1, and at the worst case scenario, float them off if you want to. But I mean, really, I really want to just try and just bash out a team of extreme Power of Wishes here with Rosés and so forth and other Power of Wishes units, and really try to see if I can take advantage of just how much defense I can really gain out of this. I mean, this is a wild team right here. But the point is that I wish to show you guys that you know, Zamasu can be very good even on this team, and he's still good today. So with all of that rambling done after 3 minutes, I apologize. Let's just kind of go through his builds real quick. So as far as like his 55% build goes, I really do feel like there is just no reason not to go for additional or crit. He is a tech type unit, so he will start off with a level 5 crit. I would either, as a 55%, if that's all you got, I would suggest you just give him, you know, an addition, 2 additionals or 2 crit to give him a level 12 crit or a level 7 additional. That would be a 24% chance to crit, and that would be a 14% chance to additional. This is a unit that does need to get hit specifically to actually build up his passive and so forth. And as far as getting his defense up, you want additionals. He does actually have built-in crit, but the fact that he needs to get hit to do more damage, and the fact that I really do feel like he's just kind of he's a really good damage dealer. He's not as good as he used to be, but he's a solid, good defensive tank, offensive tank, and I do enjoy using him still, and he's a good extreme unit still to this day. I do feel like he's aged a little bit, but that's only because his damage reduction eventually falls down a bit there. But with all the support from super bosses, and now the LR physical trio just giving a crazy 140% support when you double lead, I mean, I feel like it helps him out quite a bit. This is probably a primary build I would say people should go for, is primarily additional. The level 15 additional that you do see up here, that is the amount that you would have without the equipment orbs. So if you did equip a gold and a silver, you would actually end up with 25 additional right there instead of the 15. This is the bare minimum of what would be in the kit. A level 11 crit would be 22% chance to crit, and then a level 15 additional would be a 30% chance to additional super, or additional attack specifically. The next build is probably what some people would do, and I don't think that this is necessarily a bad build. I think this is perfectly fine. You know, additionals, and then put the rest into dodge, and give him a defense equip. I don't think that's a terrible plan. He is primarily a tank unit too, as well. I wouldn't say it's a terrible idea to give him that. I just don't feel like the dodge is still a primary good idea, because he does need to get hit and build up and so forth. But yeah, I mean, obviously you can still use him as a tank as well, primarily, instead of focusing on more damage by giving him crit instead. And then after that, we'll just move on to his slot roll tips, specifically. As far as his role goes, I feel like he's primarily supposed to be a damage dealer. His defense does fall off pretty quick. I mean, within one, I think his maximum defense at turn 1, 3, and then that's it. And then he drops down to like 40% damage reduction, and he's no longer a slot 1 unit. At that point, you want to put him into slot 2 once he loses his damage reduction and so forth. You do want to put him into slot 1, though. If you decide to use his domain into infinite Zamasu, obviously there's no reason not to put him into slot 1 once you go into his domain transformation. So, with all that being said, I'll just go ahead and loop that all on the right side for you to, you know, kind of pander about, look at it, and see if you want to choose which ones, or if you want to just kind of make your own. But anyways, so we're gonna go over his build, or his 200%, his kit, etc. So as far as his 200% options, these are it. Obviously, his best team options are going to be Broly and then Rose primarily. But once again, I feel because he's on Power of Wishes, I would say you should put him on the physical Super Saiyan Trios team. I have to like not put it on his roll tips, because technically, as them being super units, it clashes. You know, they don't link very well. You're literally using the physical trio's leader skill, or as leaders, to have that double support. And that double support does go very far, but it just doesn't synergize with the rest of the team. So in the future, it might not be the best choice, but for now, this is probably, yeah. So his leader skill is Realm of Gods, Global Chaos, or Fused Fighters. Why does it say Global Chaos? Am I on? I think I'm on the Japanese version. Global Chaos. Worldwide Chaos. Realm of Gods, Worldwide Chaos, or Fused Fighters. Key +3, HP attack and defense 170, and then 30% to Time Traveler or Final Trump card. And then he is also still a 150% lead to all extreme types. So, greatly raises attack for 1 turn on 12 key, and then he massively raises attack and raises defense on 18 key. So this is another reason why it's kind of better to have additionals, because with every additional that he does, he's actually raising his defense more than what he would have in his 18 key. So looking in further into it, you know, if you have a turn where it's like, you know, you're going to take a super, you know, you're going to take damage, it's actually technically better for you to 12 key, hope that he did additionals and gets the extra 50% boost on defense. But let's hold off on that for a second and look at the rest of his kit. So he does have an entrance animation, and it reduces damage received by 20% for 4 turns from the character's entry turn, plus an additional damage reduction of 20% for the first turn, and when there is another Realm of Gods category ally on the team upon the character's entry. So you do have to have another Realm of God unit on the team. It's just one other one, so a Zamasu or a Rose would be best. And then he also has Key +6 attack and defense 100%, and then plus additional Key +3 attack and defense plus 50% when there are no Realm of Gods category enemies, which is good because majority of fights now you probably will not be unless you're fighting like Gogeta or something. He has 50% chance of performing a crit just straight from his passive, so a 50% chance to crit is equivalent to a level 25 crit. He has reduced damage received by 40% at all points, plus an additional defense plus 50% when receiving an attack. And if HP is 70% or less when receiving an attack, plus another additional defense plus 50%. So you see what I mean why he wants to get hit. So if you have only one attack coming in at you on slot 1, and he dodges that first attack, and then you proceed to super, but you only get one super off because the game just said screw you, no additionals, then he would probably get hurt quite a bit, because doing that means you lose out on the defense plus 50% here. If you were less than 70% HP, you'd lose on another 50% right here, and launch an additional attack that has a high chance of becoming a super attack within the same turn after receiving an attack. So this means that if you dodged that one attack that would be in slot 1, then you would not get potentially 100% defense, and you would not get a free super. So that's why I don't suggest dodge necessarily, because on the off chance that you do dodge like the single only attack that would be coming in slot 1, it's unlikely that it'll happen, of course. But the point is that dodge does technically hurt him a little bit. He does get plus an additional attack, plus 25% with each attack received up to 150%, which does quite a bit. It does add up quite a bit. You can also go into domain, the infinite Zamasu domain, which raises extreme class allies key by 3, and then he stays in this transformed state for 5 turns. It can be only activated when your HP is 70% or less, or less, starting from the 5th turn for the entry turn, or when there's another Future Saga category ally attacking in the same turn, or a Future Saga category enemy starting for the 7th turn for the character's entry turn. Lots of different conditions there. Majority of the time, you're probably going to just activate it by having another Future Saga category ally on the turn, on the 5th turn. It also increases damage received by superclass enemies and allies by 30%. So this is the only negative part right here that could actually make you take damage if you are rocking LR Physical Trio. I haven't personally tested it with the LR Physical Trio, but it is something to keep in mind. That 30% is a lot. That's a lot. Big bad bosses, etc., etc., etc. And then his best link partners are as follows: he, himself, and him, from many different versions of himself. I wouldn't say that CaiSamaX is his best partner, or Full Power Frieza is his best partner, but I've added them because they have big bad bosses, and almost every big bad boss goes together to a degree. CaiSamaX is a good superclass unit, and it's hard to find. It's starting to slowly become a little bit harder to find big bad bosses units. But other than that, Full Power Frieza will be getting an EZA within the near future, so that's why he is included on the list. And they do share about 4 links, so they're not like the worst linking partners, but they're not the best either. Same thing with CaiSamaX. CaiSamaX, they only have, I think they share the exact same links as Frieza. Big bad bosses, Nightmare, Fierce Battle, Legendary Power, lots of damage, lots and lots of damage, which is good because that's how you want to kind of rock them. So, with all of that being said about Zamasu's kit, let's finally move on to the defense calculations, compliments of Halvard. So I have 2 different calculations here. This is the normal one with on a 200% team and no big support like LR Physical Trio or Kid Buu. His defense is good, but I wouldn't say that it's like absurdly amazing, if that makes any sense. You know, max possible defense of 1.3 million is pretty good. And, you know, the damage reduction definitely goes a far way with that damage reduction. But the odds are is that you're probably not going to be hitting that high end right there at all points of time. So it's best that you keep him in slot 2, unless it's the 1st or 2nd turn specifically. And the only reason I say that is because below 70% HP is part of that threshold of that extra 50% defense. And you have to be not fighting Realm of Gods enemies as well. I would say he, on average, will double super. And with a double super in mind, I would say your normal average after receiving an attack in the first slot, you're probably going to be looking at around the 800k defense margin. with a generic support probably about up close to 1 million, which is still good. So yeah, that's still very good. It is something to keep in mind that he does have defense in the infinite Zamasu state. It just doesn't make sense to bother putting defense calculations for that because, well, he nullifies all attacks at him. With a Kid Buu support, which is 70%, you can see a pretty good difference. It's probably about 200, 300k difference on the defense there. Yeah, it's about 200k difference on the 70% support. On the LR Physical Trio team, you can expect that to go up to around the 1.7 to 1.8 maximum possible million defense. And, you know, put that with the fact that this guy has he has 40% damage reduction at all points of time. I would say even once he loses his intro, which is an additional 40% damage reduction, he is still looking good. 40% damage reduction with 1.8 million defense after like maximum super attack. That's pretty good. That's pretty good if you ask me. That is pretty darn good. So but yeah, anyways, I think that's pretty much gonna be it for the video. I am curious, you know, if anyone's tried to run LR Physical Trio with a bunch of Zamasus and Goku Blacks, you know, Power of Wishes. I'm very curious if you can run a team like this or make it usable for you to rock Zamasu again and see how tanky he can be. I am very curious. But anyways, guys, do let me know how you decide to build a unit. Did you build him primarily additional and crit? Did you make him more of a tankish kind of unit with dodge and additional? Or did you go for around my round of like 24 additional and 12 crit and then put a little bit of dodge in there, you know, a little bit of spice of dodge. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good day and a good night.